Now let's look at the vertex form of a quadratic function. So to start with, let me show an example. Let's say we have y is equal to 2x plus 3 squared plus 5. Well, the vertex form is simply y is equal to a, x minus h squared plus k. And as compared to standard form, the advantage here is that when you look at this equation, you should be able to know what the graph looks like immediately, because each of these has the point. Well, the first step is let's look at what each one does. What the h does is the h moves the graph left and right. And the key is that is going to change signs. What I mean by change signs is, let's look at our example here. This h is if you look at where this number right here is, that's a positive 3, so it's actually going to move it left and right in a negative 3 direction. So in that case, it's going to move it left. Now let's look at the k. K moves it up and down. But it does not change signs. So in this case, if we look at this problem, k is up here, so that's going to be 5, and it doesn't change signs, it's going to be a positive 5. So this is going to move it to the left 3, and it's going to move it up 5. Let's look at just a quick example here. If we have y is equal to x squared, that looks something like that. If you have y is equal to x plus 4 squared, you notice that's where the h is, so it moves it left and right. It changes sign, so that's going to move it to negative 4, so that's going to move it left 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The parabola will look something like this. And that's y is equal to x plus 4 squared. If, on the other hand, we had y is equal to x minus 5 squared, that's going to move it 5 units, but it changes signs. Since it changes signs, that's going to move it in a positive, left and right, in a positive 5 direction. So that's going to look something like that. And that's going to be y is equal to x minus 5 squared. If we look at the same problem, but we look at it in terms of k, again, here you have y is equal to x squared. If you had y is equal to x squared plus 5, that's going to be a k. Notice that you know that that's a k because it's outside the square. So since it's outside the square, then what it's going to do is it's going to move it up 5. And remember, that doesn't change signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks something like this. Now let's look at A. What does A do? Now A actually does two things. What A does is, first, is if A is positive, then it opens up. And if A is negative, then it opens down. Or sometimes we say it flips. And that's easy enough. If you have y is equal to x squared, it looks like this. But if it's y is equal to minus x squared, it would simply flip and open down. The second thing that A does is you look at the absolute value of A. If the absolute value of A is greater than 1, then the graph is going to be wider than x squared. I'm sorry. If A absolute value is greater than 1, it's going to be narrower than x squared. And if absolute value of A is between 0 and 1, then it's going to be wider than x squared. And if the absolute value of A is equal to 1, it's going to have the same width as x squared. So we can say that's going to be like x squared. And let's look at some examples there really quick. Let's start with y equals x squared. If you have y is equal to 3x squared, first of all, the absolute value of 3 is 3, so that's positive. I'm sorry, 3 is a positive number, so that means it opens up. The absolute value of 3 is 3, so then that's going to be greater than 1. So that's going to be up, and it's going to be narrow. So it might look something like this. Let's do y is equal to minus 1/2 x squared. First of all, it opens down because a is negative. Now let's look at the absolute value of a. The absolute value of a is a positive 1/2. That's between 0 and 1. So that means it's going to be wide. So this one's going to be, it's going to open down, or it's going to flip, and it's going to be wide. So it's going to look something like that. Y is equal to minus 1/2 x squared. And then we can do all kinds of variations here. If you have y is equal to 2/3 x squared, a is positive, so it opens up. 2/3 is between 0 and 1, so that means it's going to be a little bit wider. Y is equal to 2/3 x squared. Let's do one more quick example. First of all, when you look at this, the very first thing you do is you can find the vertex, and there's actually a video called Vertex and HK, which you can watch if you need help with this. The 5 moves it left and right, and the 7 moves it up and down. So that means it moves to the left 5, right, because it's a negative 5, and it moves up 7. If the vertex starts out at 0, 0, the new vertex is simply going to be minus 5, 7. In other words, the vertex is just HK. Let's see if it opens up or down. Let's look at A. A is a minus 3/4. If A is a minus 3/4, it's negative. That means it opens down. And is it narrow or wide? Well, let's see. The absolute value of minus 3/4 is equal to 3/4. And 3/4 is between 0 and 1. So that means it's going to be wider than x squared. So there's 2 follow-up videos you may watch. First is Vertex and HK tells about how to find the vertex when it's written in this form. And then there's a video graphing in Vertex Form, and then there's also 2 of those, in which we'll go through the steps to graph this. And that's how you, at least how you start graphing parabolas in Vertex Form.